Welcome to the Growth Plus Exit podcast, where owners of privately held middle market companies talk about founding, scaling, and exiting their businesses successfully. Learn how to maximize and monetize your business on your own terms. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Susan Carney, host of the Growth Plus Exit podcast, where middle market owners, CEOs, and experts talk with us about founding, scaling, and sometimes selling their businesses. The episode today is brought to you by Newport. Newport's a team of seasoned C-suite executives who help CEOs build more valuable businesses and exit them on their own terms. You can learn about us at newportllc.com. Today, I'm talking to Dan Lawrence. Dan's a co-founder and CEO of OBM, a Baltimore-based enterprise SaaS company, and I'll let him tell you in a moment the cool work that they're doing there. Dan's a computer scientist and a first-time entrepreneur. He started his career as a software engineer and then a technical director at the Department of Defense, and launched his business and has been learning in real time how business operates and how they run and how to become a CEO. So it's been an interesting time for him. He co-founded OBM in 2017 and has been on quite a wild ride ever since, based on my observations. So welcome, Dan. Glad to have you today.
Thank you for having me, Susan. Looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So first, Dan, tell us a little bit about OBM. What's the big idea there?
So OBM, we started the company in 2017, and to give you context, we started the company. It was a drunken night in Baltimore, realistically. I was out with my best friend, who's now my co-founder. We were out in Fed Hill walking the streets, and we had this moment right down there on Cross Street where there was this moment of, you ever heard of Bitcoin mining? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you want to get into that? And I said, sure, let's do that. So we built out a small scale Bitcoin mine. We ended up running the mine in Westminster, Maryland. So it's about an hour away. And we basically installed some computers at a facility that was an hour away, added a hour-long commute to fix any problem, drive back and forth, try to solve problems, drive back and forth, try to solve problems. And after you drive up there and fix a problem, you get back home. And then there was one time or two times when he would call me and say, hey, are you still working on it? And I would say, no, I'm not working on it. Why? And he said, well, everything just went down again. So then you got to drive all the way back up there. So now I just drove 4 hours to solve a 2-minute problem. So we decided to put on our software engineering hats, and we built some software so we could manage it from our houses. So now it eliminates the drive. Bitcoin took off, went crazy back in 2017, and the machines that we had bought were supposed to pay themselves off in a year. They paid themselves off in 30 days. And we realized that if it's not working while we're asleep, dang, it's a lot of money lost. So we built Foreman. That was our first product. And it was very much a small scale little pet project, but it helped me sleep and it eliminated a lot of gas burning. And fast forward, we started to think, what if anybody else has this problem? And we opened it up to the market and realized, wow, other people have the same problem. And also Bitcoin mining is getting really, really big. So we ended up building a product to solve a small need for ourselves that also hit the market at the same time Bitcoin mining got really serious. So right place, right time, and also solve a problem that we actually had ourselves.
You know, it's funny how there's a confluence so often between luck, skill, and expertise. And it sounds like you guys found those streams just as they were coming together in the river. But you had very secure jobs at the Department of Defense doing something you still love, which is software engineering and writing code. What allowed you to, or what made you decide to take the leap and leave that environment and start a business full time?
I've always had this mentality that I wanted to retire from something that I built. And I never knew what that was going to be. Realistically, it's probably I don't know, maybe it's trauma from a Google software engineering interview that I went on and Google said, hey, I don't think you're the right fit for us. And maybe I've had this effort to try to prove them wrong at some point in the future. So I set out on this long-term unintentional direction to retire doing my own thing. And when we started building Foreman, I got addicted to just writing the code and just I was staying up late and just it was building a pet project. And eventually I had this thought, this conversation with Jake, and I said, hey, if we can ever make 100 grand, I'm going to go full time because I wanted to try to start something myself. I wanted to try to build something. So we ended up actually building the product out. We went down the wrong route, course corrected, because when we were small scale miners, there's two types of mining you could do at the time. You could deploy ASICs, which were it's kind of like looks like a shoebox. You can buy 100 of them, throw them on the shelf, and they all work. Or you can build out PCs and build out GPUs and buy memory and get everything all built out. And the amount of time it would take us to deploy 10 of these of the ASICs versus build out one of the GPU rigs, it the math didn't work. So we said, forget about the GPUs. We're going to go on the ASICs, and that's where the market went to. But we started we started scaling the company a little bit. We started to get some users on the platform. I was still working at the DoD at the time, full time throughout the day. And it got to the point where I would be at my desk at work, and maybe don't tell anybody at the DoD that I used to do this, but I would be sitting there on my computer, on the computer that had internet, and I would be trying to answer customer questions while I was also at work. And eventually, anytime there was a sales call, I'd have to go out to my car constantly. And eventually hit that point where I was like, I can't, this isn't scaling. And then at the same time, we had support taking off, and we also had a big customer come through, and they said, hey, we like the platform. We don't want you guys to go away. We know that you're not profitable because we were charging almost free. We just wanted people to use it. And they said, we can tell you're not making any money. We don't want you to go away. What do you want? And I didn't view that as a blank check opportunity. So we said $10,000 a month. And they said, sure, deal. Dang, should have asked for more. So then there was that moment of there's too much support all day, and holy crap, we're going to make 120 grand. I'm doing it. So then I switched.
Yeah. So what's it been like transitioning from your career at the Department of Defense as a technical director and becoming the CEO of a fast growing software company?
Very different. Very different. The one great thing is I can have my cell phone all day. So that's great because when you're at the DoD, you end up pretty disconnected from the world all day. But from just the company side, one thing that really helped me, I think, run this company is at the end of the day, it's I'm the CEO, and I feel like most times I'm probably just a paid actor at this point where I'm talking about the product, and a lot of people end up viewing me as the head of the company, and I represent the product itself, but it's really the team that's doing everything, and everybody down in the weeds that are actually making this a great product and drive forward. I end up kind of like an actor, and at the end of the day, I'm just a people person. I talk to people, I go out and meet people. Any relationship that we strike, it's just talking to people. And I think that when I was a technical director for the Department of Defense, I used to be a software engineer, which means I was just writing small scale apps. Then I became a team lead. So then I'm kind of leading the people that I used to work with. So then it went from me managing myself to now I've got maybe 5 or 6 people underneath of that. And then I moved up a little higher to a technical director. So now it's like multiple teams. And then it ends up getting into some cross organization stuff, larger efforts that have a whole bunch of different people involved doing different parts of solving different pieces of the puzzle, and just dealing with all of those people and the different dynamics and everything. I think it ended up making me pretty easy to talk to, I think, and very easy to be very personal and just find a way to ultimately get people to give OBM a shot when it comes to what platform they're going to pick to run their operation.
Yeah. So tell me where the company is today. What's the company like? What are you doing?
What am I doing? We started off very small scale Bitcoin mining, turned it into a enterprise Bitcoin mining management platform. The scope of that was and still is, but the scope's expanded a lot. It's basically give you a single web page that you can go to see everything that you're running at the site. So think of a Bitcoin mine, it's like a data center. You've got all the racks with all the servers in it, and somebody says, hey, server 63 went offline. Where the heck is that? We give you a single pane of glass that you can log into to see all those problems, see where everything is. And ideally, if somebody's clicking a button to fix a problem, why'd they have to click the button? So we bring automation to also kind of streamline that. So now people can go to sleep for 8 hours and wake up and everything's been healed. So we started from an operational perspective, helping Bitcoin mines run. Then we learned we had this capability that got built for turning Bitcoin mines off at a period where the grid might be stressed. So when you think of the grid operates in a supply demand, got to be perfectly matched. You don't want to overproduce power. You don't want to underproduce power. If you overproduce, you can shut down. If you underproduce, you see a brownout or a blackout. So that's what happens during Winter Storm Uri in Texas. Sometimes if you see your lights flicker, maybe it's some generation going offline, depends on the situation. But we learned quickly that Bitcoin mining takes a lot of power, and that can be an asset to the grid. And that took us down this route of, well, now we run mines, but also let's make these mines grid responsive. So if there's ever a situation where the supply and demand on the grid don't align, maybe there's too much demand, the grid can reply to that by saying, let's produce more power. Like let's turn on additional production to match that demand. But sometimes that quick responsive power can be very expensive, or it can be very dirty. Maybe it's a lot of coal, maybe it's diesel gens, whatever it might be. Or you can just say, well, if we need 100 megawatts of power, what if we just ask somebody to turn off 100 megawatts? It's the same thing. Now we're balanced again. So you don't have to produce. You can also just reduce load. So that's Bitcoin mining takes a lot of load. It's also responsive in the fact that if you shut off a Bitcoin mine, it's not like websites go off. You can't log into gmail.com. Nothing like that happens. Bitcoin mining keeps going. So we got into automating that in response to grid conditions, and that took us into energy markets and what is demand response and what does it mean to be a peak event on the grid. So the platform evolved over time from operational tool to operational tool plus energy management tool. And we took that knowledge to say, well, really, if we look at Bitcoin mining, what is it really? It's the first of its kind as far as flexible compute. So we've built a platform that can control flexible compute based on grid conditions. So now the company has changed from operational tool to it's a large flexible load management platform that lets you respond to grid events, respond to pricing events, and we're just adjusting compute up and down. One implementation of that is Bitcoin mining. Moving forward, other flexible industries too, which we believe will be AI, HPC, the GPU-focused industries, possibly traditional data centers. So really, the company is now focused on basically any energy consumer that can respond to grid events, and there's no end user impact.
It's funny. I think that's a common thread through a lot of successful technology companies in particular is you start in one place on your path and you have the foresight and flexibility to switch the path up successfully when you find different opportunity, greater opportunity to take the company, to exploit the business that they might have. So in that transition, what are some of the challenges you faced and what'd you learn from that?
Our first transition moment was when we realized we were building for the wrong type of hardware. So we realized if somebody was going to go from 10 miners to 10,000 miners, we had 3 GPU rigs, and that took 99% of our time. So there's no way that anybody's going to say, this is what I'm going to scale with. I can go to Best Buy and buy 100 computers, or I could build 100 computers. That's the type of problem that we realized. So our first pivot moment was when we switched from the things that actually made us most profitable so we had a personal connection to those rigs that we built because they actually made more money than the other ones. But we had to drop what we found most useful and focused on where we thought the industry was going to scale. So that's where we dropped the GPU focus and embraced the ASIC side. And then that's where the industry scaled. So that was our first pivot. Our next pivot was when we really learned that from an operational tool perspective, great, you need a web page to manage any tech really these days. You can open up your phone, you got probably 52 apps or 500 apps on there, maybe only use 3 of them, but everything's got an app. You need to be able to control everything from your fingertips. So we focused on the management side, but then once we learned the grid responsiveness side and how Bitcoin mining margins getting tighter over time, because Bitcoin mining has this concept every 4 years, there's a halving event. So we're in a period right now where new Bitcoin's getting created every 10 minutes. And in the code, mathematically, in the year 2142, 21, somewhere around there, Bitcoin runs out. So we hit 21 million. So that happens by every 4 years, the amount that's created gets halved and halved and halved until it's exhausted. And then we're just trading around the 21 million that exist. So Bitcoin miners, that means their industry changes their revenue changes every 4 years. One day you're making $100, the next day you're making $60. What the heck just happened? Oh, it's been 4 years. So we realize that for Bitcoin mining to survive, it's going to need to have other types of revenue. And turning that load responsiveness into a grid asset unlocks a lot of revenue, because the grid, to respond to that supply demand imbalance, they will say, they can turn on 100 or turn off 100. When you turn off 100, you're an insurance policy to the grid. You're getting paid year round just to be available. And if they ever need you to respond, they can call you. And that's how demand response works. So we pivoted the company then and focused on demand response automation. Every effort that we've done has been to expand our total addressable markets. That's the big problem that we've really hit. We've started off Bitcoin mining in 2017. It's 2025. If I walk down the street and ask 100 people in 2017, are you a Bitcoin miner? 100, I would get 100 no's. Here we are 8 years later. If I walk down the street and ask 100 people, are you a Bitcoin miner? We still get 100 no's. Bitcoin mining is not a commodity. We're not selling toilet paper. Not everybody's buying. So the total addressable market, it has been constrained for us by the size of the industry, and the size of the industry can only grow so big. We're limited by Bitcoin mining economics. We're limited by how much power there is available on the grid. So we have expanded the platform, expanded our scope in hunt for more total addressable markets. So the biggest snag that we've had as the company has grown is we have conquered a lot of the market that we have, but ask 100 people, I'm not going to find a single Bitcoin miner. So that's been our biggest challenge over time.
Yeah. And what about your proudest moments? Because you've grown a great deal and very, very rapidly, personally, professionally, in your business. Tell me something you're pretty proud of and all that.
I would say I like the fact that I like a lot of the people here, really. I like a lot of the people that have joined our company over the years. We've got a pretty good culture, and we just had everybody together over the last couple of weeks, and seeing everybody together, it's really rewarding to have them all here and feel like we're part of one big mission. And I think that we really focused a lot recently on making all of our employees owners, that owner mentality. So we just incorporated this new employee options program where everybody at the company is all going to get in some level. Everybody's got a chance at equity here. So everybody's going to get some skin in the game. And we're really trying to push that owner mentality, and seeing everybody get all fired up and focused and just laser focused on the vision and the mission that we're striving for. It's been really rewarding. Another personally rewarding thing is the types of companies that we're talking to today. So think back in 2017, who are we talking to? We were selling on Reddit to a bunch of Bitcoin miners and gamers. That's who we were making Reddit posts trying to find customers. You can still find those. They're comical to look at. now we're in 2025, and the companies that we're talking to, I drive by their gas stations all the time. And it's it's very rewarding to be in an Uber going past a stadium that has one of our customers' names on the side of it, or to be driving down the road and you see this gas station company, that gas station company. Wow, we work with them. That's been very rewarding. Just to think that we started in a small garage out in Westminster, and now I'm hoping that I can eventually get on a sales call someday and maybe walk away with that with free gas the rest of my life. That would be great. But that's been really rewarding, the types of companies that we work with.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Let's switch to some personal things rather than just the business.
Yeah.
First, tell me, Dan, where were you raised? What was it like?
I was raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I was born in a place called Essex. I was in Essex for a very, very, very long time. I went to UMBC for my undergrad, went to Hopkins for grad school. Um, I am actually still in Baltimore, Maryland, and the interesting part for me is I live on a river right now, and when I was a kid, I spent a lot of my summers with my cousin. He's like my brother. He's my best friend, and he lived on this river. And I remember when we were all of my summers were out on the water, living at my cousin's house. Basically, all summer long, we were just best buds, and we'd be out swimming in front of his house. And I'd always be looking at the other side of the river, like, I wonder who lives over there. Like, who would ever live on that side of the river? And now, fast forward, God, 30 years, I'm on the other side of the river, looking back over there, like so many memories. So I haven't moved too far. I've been in Baltimore my whole life, born here, raised here. I'm happy to be in Baltimore. I don't know. The older I get, my family's starting to relocate and spread out. And now it's gotten to that point where my mom lives in my mom lives in Ocean City, Maryland, so that's about 3 hours from where I am. My dad's in Westminster, so about an hour, hour and a half, because I just drive slower. It seems like the older I get. So now it's an hour and a half drive. But people are starting to spread out a little bit more. And I'm starting to think maybe in the future I might relocate, because now if I've got to drive 3 hours to see my mom, I could also be on maybe a 1 hour flight from anywhere. So maybe I move, but when I love Baltimore. I've been here my whole life. My family's still close, and I loved my childhood. I was a gamer when I was a kid, and I think that's what probably took me into the computer science side. I used to game all the time. I played a lot of computer games. Had this natural, man, I really want to make video games someday. And then I realized later in life, I don't think I have the personality or the control of my own habits to be a casual gamer. I get way too into things. I get like addicted and I'm all about it. And it gets to the point where I'm super competitive and I'm waking up all night long just to do certain things in the game that had certain timers and everything. So I realized up front, I don't think I can be a gamer. There is no concept of casual. So I dropped gaming, but I still kept computer science. And now when I look back, I realize maybe this company is I'm addicted to this company. I think like I was addicted to gaming. So I don't think I've tamed my habits. I've just found more ways to probably put them to better use and really make me work a heck of a lot. And I love it.
Yeah, more productive use, huh?
More productive. Yeah.
That's great. And what are some of the daily rituals that you have that you think contribute to your success as a business executive?
So if you ask me to define myself, I still don't think I ever identify as a business exec. I still feel like a scrappy software engineer that just never gets to write code. So
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for business. Um, I think I probably have pretty good intuition, and I think I'm a very good sponge, so I can absorb a lot of information. I think that's helped me a lot, but running a business is nothing that I definitely went to school to do. So it's all been learning on the fly, relying on relationships like we had with Newport, where I work with you a good bit to help me become the best business version of myself. It's been a lot of learning along the way. So out of the gate, I was this aggressive startup entrepreneur, and I worked 24/7 around the clock. There were no holidays. There still really are no holidays, but we're still talking about that, Susan.
Yes.
Um, but it's there were habits that I had that were I wake up, I go over to my computer desk, I sit down, and I start working. I crack open my email, or I may be laying in bed on my phone and I see some emails, and it just immediately takes me out of bed right to work. I would never take any time for myself, and then before you know it, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I realized I didn't eat, and oh, I need to shower. This was back when we were in the build phase, not necessarily the sales phase. So I didn't shower. So the way that I started off my day set up how my day would progress. And if I started off with a very mindless approach, I would end up with a very mindless day. I wouldn't apply any thought. I wouldn't stay present through any moment. My life hack, or the way that I've found a way to have more productive, better mental health, very just quality of life improving days, were when I wake up in the morning, I don't check my phone. I don't check my phone and I don't check my work email until I get to work. So that means if I wake up in bed, I've got two golden doodles and they are right in my face 2 minutes before I wake up every day. They decide when I wake up, and now I play with them, and then I let them out, and I make my coffee, and I never leave the house without a cup of coffee. And all of that is by just not letting work start too soon. I want to be intentional about when I work. I have been in relationships over the years. Work was generally the thing that got in the way of a lot of that, and it's because in my opinion, I think if I was more intentional about how I start my days, I would be more intentional about how I end my days, and it would make it easier to maintain those healthy relationships with people in my life. So now I am very specific about how I start my day. When I leave work, I'm I'm disconnected for the day. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but rarely is there a problem that will happen that needs to be solved within 12 hours. So you can sleep and you can take a little bit of time. And if something catastrophic like that happened overnight, it was probably going to happen anyway if it wasn't that point. So if something's not solid enough that you can walk away for 10 or 12 hours, it's probably not for you. So there's been a lot of learning along the way, and starting my day and disconnecting from work. Those were the biggest things that really helped my life a lot.
Yeah, boy, that's a really healthy perspective on balance, right?
Yeah, the problem though is sometimes I don't consistently end my day at the same time. But one thing that really helped me also is having an office. So this this room that I'm in, I haven't even been in here for more than 30 days. We just closed on this new office over in the Baltimore Peninsula. It's a great office. We lucked out because this park was built out during COVID. And what happened to corporate real estate post COVID? It's vacant. So brand new building, no tenants. So we walked by and said, "Hey, we'd like to be a tenant." And they said, "What do you want? We'll give it to you. Please move in." So here we are. We love the office. And that has been great also for this concept of my day has started, my day has stopped. So taking work out of my house, and I work when I'm at work. And if I have something to do, I stay late. But when I leave, I'm done. And I just had a realization this past weekend. I live in a small house on the water. It's only 1,100 square feet plus the bonus room. It's a little Cape Cod. And I was looking at my office in there, and I realized, I've been in this office for 3 weeks. I actually took one of my monitors from home and brought it to work. So my setup at home, it's got one monitor and an empty arm for another monitor. And it hasn't been a problem. And it's because I'm not working at home anymore. So it's really made home feel like home, work feel like work. And it's really good for the disconnect.
Yeah, speaking of your new office, which I'm looking forward to seeing at some point, are you running a virtual organization, or are people coming back to work? I know a lot of business owners are having to make that decision still.
So we're very remote. We started off in Baltimore. We hired people in Baltimore. We hired a couple of fresh college grads out of, I think they were from Maryland. Thankful that some of them are still here. And we really put a focus on trying to find local people because I come from the DoD, and the DoD, there really isn't, at the time, there wasn't really much, there was no remote work. I think that's changed a little bit where remote work got instituted, but with some of the recent changes of the government, I think probably remote work's going to become a thing of the past. And I am the kind of person that I like to be face to face. I like to go out there and chit chat with somebody. I know yesterday we had some people in the office and a sales call went a certain way. And I walked out there and I could just say, can we talk about something? And it's just nice to have a face to face conversation. You talk about life and you just connect with people, and you lose so much of that when you're fully remote. So right now we are a mostly remote company. We have, I'll hand wave it 10 people maybe in the Baltimore area. Less than 10, it's probably more like 8. We have 32 people at our company. So we've got 20 something people that are fully remote, and outside of intentional time when we try to get the company all together, which is a big effort. We're getting 32 people all across the US all into one area for 2, 3, 4 days is a feat. So when you're fully remote, you start to lose some of that personal touch. And since I just come from such a face-to-face background, my objective is I would love to have 32 people in this office every day. I would love to see everybody face to face. I'd love to, hey, good morning. Yeah, hey, how's it going? How was the game last night? How'd everything go? But you don't get that when you're remote because you join a call, you talk about work, you leave the call, and you don't get the banter. So all that banter's gone. So right now we're very remote. We've got this new office with a lot of space. The intention is we're going to bring the local people back. Hopefully nobody from the company is watching this podcast because we haven't made the announcement yet. But the locals in the area, they're going to probably get strongly encouraged to take maybe a 2-day a week. And maybe Tuesday, Thursday, we just all come in together, work, and we're trying to find ways to incentivize that. We're paying for parking. We pay for lunch when people come here. We keep everything stocked, and there's alcohol here, whatever you need. There's a reason to come into work. And when we have the people in, just the conversations that spark up, or hey, can we step into the room really quick? I'm going to grab so and so. We're going to talk about something, and we're whiteboarding. And you walk out there, you're thinking, man, when's the last time you whiteboarded with somebody?
Yeah.
That's so powerful. You never get to do that anymore. You don't just get to write stuff down. Instead, you spend so much time in your own head, and then you present what you think is done, but you miss that ability to find a solution together. That's all lost. So our objective is migrate slowly from very remote to the people that we have that are remote. We're not letting anybody go. We love the people that are here, but the people that are local, let's try to find a way to get everybody together.
Yeah. Thanks for your candor on that. And I promise we won't post this until you've had a chance to talk to your.
Thank you. Yeah, give us a couple of weeks.
It'll be our little secret until then.
Thank you, Susan.
So last question, Dan, and that is, what advice would you give to first-time entrepreneurs? What tough lessons have you learned that you'd like for them to be able to avoid?
So I know I was in a relationship when I started the company, and we had a conversation up front. It's going to be a lot of work. And that's easy to say, but if you're not coming from an entrepreneurial background, you just know that there is this looming grim reaper, we'll call it, that is a time commitment. And you don't know when you're going to get tapped, but whenever it happens, you're gone. Your life is, you're pulled into the trenches of building a startup. And we had the conversation up front. It was a very intentional conversation. And it's, hey, this is going to be a lot of work. And it's easy to say, yeah, we're both cool with this. And then you fast forward a couple of years and you realize, whoa, life is so different. And that was if you're not a real seasoned entrepreneur and you're not intentional with your time management, it's not something you're expecting, I would say. If you're a first time entrepreneur, you just haven't had 2, 3, 4 exits. I know if OBM ends up being very successful and I end up going on to do something afterwards, I'm unfortunately not the type of guy that's just going to retire and sit on a boat. I'm probably going to find something else to do and bring myself right back into the trenches. But I know out of the gate, I'd be very intentional with time management. And I think that it's hard to be mindful of that when you're a first time entrepreneur. So those the time commitment is something you definitely need to be prepared to. And there's a lot of sacrifices that'll get made while you yourself mature into what it's like to be a balanced entrepreneur rather than just we're an aggressive startup and I work 24 hours a day and everything's going to be cool outside of that. Um, Time management, being intentional with when you're working and when you're not, finding ways to stay grounded and not just all about work. I saw my fiance that's the one I'm talking about right now. So we still keep in touch, and I saw her somewhat recently, and she said, "You over the years, you I look at you and I see foreman, like you're foreman Dan. Like people in the industry view you as foreman Dan, and foreman is our product. So everybody views me as foreman Dan." And I realized when she said that, like if somebody asked me something interesting about myself, it's going to be about the company. Like I've become the company, and I wasn't mindful of myself and my time and my identity through it. So I think I lost a lot of myself to the company. So just being really mindful of who you are and what's important. And if something's important, don't forget to make time for it. And that time can also be for yourself. Like if you like to read, if you like to do something, don't forget that stuff, because that's what made you who you are. And if you drop it all, you're going to change through the company. And that's what happened to me. So I didn't focus a lot on really the things that made me myself. I used to spend a lot of time watching videos, walking my dogs, going for hikes, things that just really gave me a lot of mental peace. And all that got lost in starting up the company. So it's really important to keep tabs on that and don't lose track of time.
Thanks. I really appreciate the candor, because those are tough
Yeah, of course.
lessons to learn. So this is the Growth Plus Exit podcast, and I've been talking to Dan Lawrence, who's a co-founder and CEO of OBM. Dan, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being on the show. Any last thoughts you want to share with us?
This is fun. I always love talking about our story.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Dan. I'll see you soon, and appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you for listening to the Growth Plus Exit podcast, sponsored by Newport, a unique national business advisory firm. If you enjoyed this show, be sure to share, like, and subscribe for future episodes.